Hi, everybody. Welcome to another new episode of Alto Call Married at First Sight. Today, I will be covering the reunion part two, which will put an end to everything. No, but wait, there's still another new episode next week, so it's not. But yes, I will be covering part two of the reunion, and my guest today is Wendy. Hi, Wendy. How are you?
I am good. Excited to be here again to recap this reunion.
This reunion that could have been a teams meeting. Like we always say, if they wanted to, they could have made this just one part because we just continued asking, the same questions over and over and over again. But I did enjoy the experts joining. I think that might have been what I liked the most about this reunion. But we'll get into it. We got to take care of some business before we get into the episode. So, just a reminder to you guys that I do have a Patreon, and you can join the Patreon with different tiers where you can listen ad free, you can listen to get bonus episodes, and there's another tier where you can get episodes early. And if you don't want to join any of them, you can just join for free and you can join in the chat and the conversations that we have over there. Right now, we have bonus episodes with the Love is Blind reunion, the Traitors reunion, and just had a new episode where A joined me to recap the current season of 90 Day Fiance. Do you watch 90 Day Fiance, Wendy?
No, I
Oh,
don't.
okay.
But I always see clips.
Okay.
And then there was a time I went over to my friend's house and she made me like watch a ton of episodes. But since
Okay.
then, I haven't like watched
That's
um,
okay. It's
90
just,
Day
one of
Fiance.
those things. There's so many iterations of it that, you don't even know which one it is. But
Yeah.
there's a new season and it's 90 Day OG. So you can check that out if you want. And as always, that I've been telling you guys, as the season ends, please let me know what your ideas are. If you want me to cover anything, if there's any non-MAFS episodes that you want me to cover, I am open to ideas, looking for what to cover as we wait for the next season to come on. So this is a good segue where I go into past MAFS participants of what's going on. MAFS fan just posted that they're casting for MAFS in not one, not two, not three, but four cities. We are eating good. That guarantees at least 4 seasons. And rumor has it, the next season has already been filmed. So we're talking five, which is in Austin, I believe.
Oh, really? It's in Austin?
Yeah, I that's what I heard. So the seasons that are the cities that are being casted are Kansas City, Las Vegas, Phoenix, and Seattle. Dr. Pepper is in Seattle, so I don't know if she's still going to be around, but then she'll be home. So I wonder if we'll see her the same way we saw Dr. Pia this time in Chicago every single time
Yeah.
over there. So which of these four cities kind of pique your interest?
Seattle, just because my favorite Love is Blind season was the Seattle season. So, like, I'm hoping that there will be some correlation somewhere there. I don't know. And that's Brett and Tiffany's season.
Yeah. I
Um,
wonder I wonder if they'll get I think if I recall that they had not enough people are casting. That's why they had to import people from Portland, which is where
yeah,
Brett came from
yeah,
and Kwame came from, which makes me think, why not just do it in Portland?
yeah,
Why do it in Seattle if you had issues there and then let people come from Seattle to
yeah.
Portland? But
We'll see. So, like, that's my thought process too, that it might get people from Portland, even if they're calling it the Seattle season. So, I'm excited for that. And I'm excited for Arizona.
Arizona?
Yeah, that's what you said, right?
Oh yeah, Phoenix. Phoenix.
Phoenix, sorry,
Yes, yes,
Phoenix. Yeah,
Phoenix.
Phoenix City.
Why?
Phoenix. So I watched Pop the Balloon.
Oh my god.
The one Pop the Balloon that I watch is the one with the African host, Arlette, I think that's her name. And they host that Pop the Balloon in Arizona. I don't know exactly what city, but it's in Arizona and I enjoy it. I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of single people there. We don't know, but people travel to go to her Pub the Balloon too. So I don't know. But when they first started, it was mostly people that lived in the state. So I think that's sort of clouding my judgment, saying, "Oh, okay, maybe there's just a lot of eligible people in
Over there.
Phoenix." So I don't know.
Okay.
We'll see.
Well, we'll see. I'm looking forward to. I mean, it doesn't really matter. We're gonna watch each season anyways, right? So
Yep.
that's what it is.
Yep.
Okay, as a follow up, last week talked a little bit on the secrets revealed where Courtney chose violence and was like, children are not content, called Jamie Otis out by her name. And Jason and I talked about it a little. I did check. Jamie has chosen peace. Jamie is not even addressing it. Jamie is not saying anything. I try to see if some people were messy because sometimes people put in the comments, like, do you have anything to say about Courtney? I didn't see it, but Jamie is not saying anything. So this is just going to die a peaceful death, and I think I'm okay with it. So
Yeah, because that means she'll be fitting into the narrative that's out there about her, right? Like that she's so into social media. I know that the specific comment was about kids, but I
yeah,
think Jamie in general just is very, very much into social media and doesn't appear to have boundaries.
yeah. It's funny because Courtney posted a video saying I knew I was going to get comments, and a lot of people in her comments were other MAFS participants because I think Shawnice was on there, Steph was on there, and everyone just having their stuff about it. And it's more like honestly, do what feels comfortable to you because I think Ashley, one of my favorites from Chicago, she puts her kids not like in content way, like her kids are just participating in her life, I guess. And she's like, maybe I'm being a hypocrite. She's like, I do agree kids are not content, but I put my kids, I'm sure people have an issue with how I do mine, but I'm comfortable with what I do with my kids. So at the end of the day, regardless of what people say, you're still going to do, as long as you can stand 10 toes down of what you're doing, people will always talk. Because I'm
Yeah.
sure there's something Courtney does on her social media that people are going to say, hey, this is too much. You shouldn't talk about me. You shouldn't sell us anything. Don't give us a discount code. Just be something. I'm just being hypothetical, but
Yeah.
you will always, someone will never always agree with you anyways. Um, Lindsay from the Boston season had her baby. So her baby, she had a son, and his name is Theo. Theo? I don't know why I have Nicole here. I think that's wrong. But Theo is his name. So congratulations to her. She has had her baby. Did you like Lindsay? You're looking at me like I have no comment. I was like, did I say something wrong? Is there something?
Lindsay was an interesting character. That's all I would say.
She was, but I think she's turned her life around. And in looking back at it, I kind of think that you would be on Lindsay's side because I think they kind of did her wrong because her whole thing, no, her whole thing was like she didn't come right out and say it, but she felt like she was not being equally yoked. Low key, she was like Michelle, where she's
Yes.
like, "Why did you give me somebody who is not on my level, who
Yeah.
doesn't like to try foods,
Yeah.
who's a mama's boy, who's whatever?" Yes, was she rude? Yes, she was rude, just like Michelle was. But her whole thing, I think, she was triggered by the fact like this is who you think is good.
I
is
mean, she's just kooky in general. And then I just didn't like that by the reunion itself, she still hadn't let it go. And it's just like, oh my God, Lindsay, we get it. Like, Mark the Shark is not your type. He's beneath you. You're above him. But like, let it go. Like, it just got so tiring, you know?
Yeah, but you remember that the current season are the only ones who benefit from like a whole year. The rest of them, it wasn't a whole year from the reunion. It
Sure.
was just shorter time. She probably felt wronged by production and all that stuff. So it was a lot that she couldn't
True.
get out because they always try to remind us, don't forget what you see is not always right. But again, we can only go by what we see on TV, and she wasn't always on her best behavior. All right. So before we get into the episode, and I know this is kind of like a little late, but since this is the second to last episode of the season, but I realized that I probably have some new followers this season, and I never even did like an introduction. So, a brief summary is that I started this podcast with my friend A during the pandemic in 2020, season 11, which was it's funny, I don't say New Orleans season, I always say the Woody and Amani season, was our first season that we covered. And Aid stepped away from the podcast in September 2024, but she does guests from time to time. You may have heard or caught her episodes. So season 18 was when I started hosting solo with rotating guests. A little bit about me. I've lived most of my life in the US, but the accent that you hear is from Nigeria. I'm married, and my husband and I live in the DC area. And that's pretty much the abridged version. But if you have any more questions about me, the show, MAFS, anything else, feel free to send them along on DM, on Instagram, or email or anything. But I just thought that this should be something that I kind of did if there's any new listeners or followers right now. I didn't know what direction the show would go. Going doing it on my own, it's been a lot of work and a lot of learning, but it's always still a labor of love for me as someone who just enjoys reality TV. I am thankful to so many people who bear with me, guys. I do want to list people out. I will never stop thanking Aid for starting this journey with me. I'm thankful for the MAFS community for embodying the saying that there is room for everyone and being supportive. And anytime I needed guests, people were there. Thank you to Maps Nation, Maps Fan, all the guests that I've had. Thank you to Wendy. Thank you to Jason, Ellie and Leon, Amy, Brian from Maps Virgin, Nicole from the Nashville season and D-List Diaries, and Raven, Lola, Jen, Nana, South Jersey Pete, Arika, and I hope I didn't forget anyone, but I just want to thank everyone. And as always, you guys, the listeners, like in the words of Ikechi, I'm not everyone's cup of tea, but I'm learning to focus on the people who support. And thank you guys. Like for those of you who also stuck around, and for those of you who just joined, I am still blown that anyone wants to hear my nerdy reality rantings. But just wanted to say thank you to you guys, and just to do a brief introduction that I should have done at the beginning of the season. Okay, back to the reunion part two. Wendy, you still there?
Yes, yes, yes.
All right. Just wanted to show my manners. So back to this reunion that was okay. What was your favorite part of the reunion?
What was my favorite part of the reunion? Nothing. It was boring, and actually it made me cringe a little bit too.
Well, that's a given with our new cast member.
Yeah. Oh, so you knew who I was talking about.
What do you mean? Everybody's cringing except his partner. So, you know.
I yeah, I guess that would be my most entertaining. So I wouldn't say I liked any part of it. I would just say I was most entertained by their segment, the new cast member, Brandon.
Okay. All right. So we started with David and Michelle. We are just picking back up where Kevin left, still trying one more time to get a timeline from David. And I think he kind of cracked. He's like, he did go out with her that night when she had told Alan. And I'm like, told him what? Because there were many times she told Alan she was going to a friend. So I don't know which one he's talking about. And that he stayed late with her and her cousin to watch a football game. So I'm like, oh, so her cousin was like,
Yeah.
everyone knew and was just okay with it. Okay,
And
cool.
then that made me go back to that whole that text shouldn't have been meant for me. Remember I told you she knew it was meant for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm, even weird. So Kevin says, when you were hanging out, was it flirtatious? And he's like, I'm a flirtatious person. And Kevin is like, okay, so that's a yes. And then Kevin doesn't stop. He was like, in a way, like this is like a relationship, but he says, no, it was just what I wasn't getting at home. And Kevin asked, all right, when is the first time you kissed? And he was like, at Juan's warehouse downstairs when they showed it on the camera. And we had talked about this on last episode. Like Jason and I were like, we just know what he's going to say. Like they've set it up. They've had their stories. Him and Madison have done coaching hour.
This
That's
is what
exactly
you
what we got.
say when
Hmm.
they ask you when we first kissed. I know we first kissed at the honeymoon, but however, comma, we need to say it was at Juan's warehouse. Okay, you got it? All right.
Michelle, I think Kevin asked Michelle if she feels like she'll ever get the truth, and she's like, "I'm never gonna get the truth, and there is no way he sent it without a physical relationship." And I know where you stand, Wendy, but just to ask, do measure. Is there a world where it's possible that he sent this text without them being physical? Is it even remotely possible?
If they were in a long distance relationship, that's the only answer that I have. I feel like you've already crossed that line. I'm like with Michelle on this one. You've already crossed that line for you to be sending that text message. The
Yeah.
only way that nothing physical would have happened is if they're in a long distance relationship and they're looking forward to eating each other out, whatever,
For the first
for
time,
the
because
first
even if
time.
that, he
Exactly.
could have.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, I'm with Michelle on that one.
Yeah, so yeah, when Michelle says, it just sounds like there was plans to go down later, David smirks. And this is why I get it. There are two camps. People are like, okay, they've apologized enough. It is what it is. They're happy a year later. Just let it go. But then they do things like this where they do the smirk. And I don't know if it's like maybe a nervous tick. You know, when people just laugh when
Yeah.
things are awkward. But that
Yeah.
smirk was just David. Control yourself.
I think it's a nervous tick from both of them, from David and Madison.
Oh, man. So Kevin lets us know that he has been in the streets, and that is not a text that he would send if he was shooting his shot.
I just want to say I love Kevin as a host. Like he
Yeah.
was so hilarious, really funny, and asked all the questions. Like, yeah.
Yeah. He brought his like A plus plus game this reunion. And we talked about it a little offline where it's like it's easy for people like Kevin or Andy or whoever to do their reunions when you have a level of I don't give a fuck because
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. You don't have much to lose per se. So again, I think he cemented it when they had last year's reunion. He told Emily, like, you yelling, you being angry, it's not going to change anything for me. I'm still going to do and I'm still going to ask what it is I'm going to ask. Now, if maybe he felt the guests were like elevated, if they were, I don't know, like if it was Julia Roberts that he was interviewing or something, is he going to talk to them like that? Probably not.
Yeah.
So it's easier when he feels like I have nothing to lose. I'm just going to ask. And if you get mad at me, still no skin off my back. So
Yep.
it
Yep.
makes a good viewing thing for us, anyways. So
Yes.
win win. So David sticks to it, and Kevin was like, "Well, we know you stuck to the food story, you stuck to the Tiffany story, so we know you just stick to your stories." So Kevin says to Michelle that, okay, can he just say that this whole thing that happened with David and Madison gave fuel to her fire, that she was already not feeling him, and this gave her a reason to be like, okay, I can hate this guy forever. And I'm like, good for you, Kevin. This is the question we've been waiting for. And Michelle's like, all right, now, not forever. I'm not hating him. And he's like, okay, like basically, like you got an out. And Michelle says that she just always felt that there was something inauthentic about David. So when he came out, what she was feeling was more like vindication, like, okay, is this what my body was trying to tell me the whole time? But Kevin says again that can she see how David went in that direction because he hit a wall from her. And she says, yeah, but she can't be blamed for him stepping out. And the one thing I've noticed, again, I don't think somebody should get the blame when your partner cheats. Like, no matter how, whatever it is, break it off and then go do what you want to do. But I've always been curious about the psychological aspect of why Michelle is very adamant that she not be blamed for this. Like even during the episodes, she kept telling David, "But do you blame me? Do you blame me? Oh, I don't want it to seem like it's my fault." And then now the first thing she tells Kevin is, "I don't want, to be blamed. I don't want it to see that, this is my fault." She's very adamant that.
Because she knows that she was mean to him during the season. It's kind of like how during her after parties as well, there was a way that she was presenting during the after parties. She
Mhm.
knew what she did and how she was being mean to him, and she was just trying to like correct that narrative or course control, just let people know like, hey, I may have done all these mean things, but it's still not my fault. So she's just not prefacing the statement with, it wasn't my fault, I didn't make you do that. Like she's not starting that sentence with, I know I did all these mean things, but it wasn't my fault. That's the part that's missing. It's silent.
I think she wants it to be she can't quite outright say it, but I think she wants it to be like whether or not I was mean to you, you still have it in you to have cheated on me.
Yeah,
But she will never know.
exactly.
So she can't, outright say it. I think the other part I wanted to know was has she been cheated on in the past? Is that why? Because she's never said anything to that Actually, we don't even know much about her past relationships, to be honest with you. Because
I
she
think was
mentioned
it she said she had not been in a
a
relationship
relationship
in
for
a
like
long
7
time.
years or something, but
Yeah.
even the ones that you were in, what was it like? What kind of partner were you? What are the things that, like, when I think of Michelle, I cannot think of whatever it
Anything.
was. Like, give me Camille. I'm gonna tell you all the things that I'm a giver. I'm the person that did that. They were R&B swag. They were something, but I can't even think of Michelle. So that's what I was trying to get at. Is I don't know if maybe in her past she was cheated on, and it really stuck to her, and she's like, again, like, no, I am not. You would not make me the reason why all that happened. Ladies, are you feeling overwhelmed by hormonal changes? If you're a woman, you're definitely not alone. There are more than 1,000 hormone disruptors living rent free in our environment right now. In our food, our water, the air we breathe, the clothes we wear, our skincare, and they all mess with our hormones. Then there's the natural hormonal changes our bodies go through. There's perimenopause, there's menopause. Whew, it's a lot. And while it's a natural process, it doesn't mean we don't suffer through it. But I have good news for you. We don't have to suffer through any of this anymore because now we have Hormone Harmony, a formula made only with herbal ingredients that are shown to reduce hormonal symptoms in women of all ages. Happy Mammoth, the company that created Hormone Harmony, is dedicated to making women's lives easier, and that means using only science backed ingredients that have been proven to work for women. They make no compromise when it comes to quality, and it shows. For a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use the code AltaCallMAFS at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use the code AltaCallMAFS, that's AltaCallMAFS, for 15% off today. So Kevin asked Michelle, what does success mean to you? And she says like finances are part of what success means to her, and then happiness and health. To refresh everyone's memory, the first time she was asked this, I think by Dr. Pia, I don't think she could answer this question.
Well, she has grown and she figured it out. Yay, Michelle.
Well, I kind of feel she stole David's answer because he was the one who said happiness, my loved ones, being healthy. Like there are other things that, you know, represent success to me than that. But I mean, to your point, let's give it to her. She's grown. And Kevin asked if she ever thought about building together. And she was like, or did she hear numbers that scared her? She was like, yes, I heard numbers that scared me. And and especially with him living at home, I thought that there'll be different numbers, but there weren't. And then Kevin asked David, what does success mean to you? He says success to him is his two careers, his soulmate, and a woman that doesn't judge him based on his finances, and they are trying to build. Um, I've said it and I'm gonna say it again that David's personality is just dating Matt. He's so proud of the fact that he bagged Madison that this is all we're gonna hear. But also, I think I said it once where I hope he gets to the point, and now that the show is over, I get it. He's on the show, so it kind of correlates, where his relationship is not always directly a comparison to him and Michelle. Oh, I like Madison because she listened to me, Michelle didn't. Even if he's not saying Michelle didn't, he's kind of saying it. He's saying my soulmate, saying a person that doesn't judge me based on finances or whatever. So maybe it is normal what he's saying, but to me, it always kind of feels like a subtle dig or to remind people like I wouldn't have gone there if I had a woman who did X, Y, and Z, I guess. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yeah, it makes sense because that's what Pastor Carl said too when they sat with them, when they realized that they were dating each other or whatever. And Pastor Carl asked, I think maybe Madison, like, are you sure this isn't just a response to like maybe you not getting what you need from Alan and then David not getting what he needs from Michelle and then they're just trauma bonding with each other. So like that makes sense, like what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully they get to that point and they just enjoy each other. But their property that they bought is in Iowa, which is where David's brother lives. He said his goal is to be married, have a family, and provide financial security. And Kevin asked him, how do you provide Madison financial security? And he's like, whenever we go out, she doesn't pay a damn thing. Um, the bar is on the floor, I guess,
The bar is in hell.
because you moved in with her. We don't
This,
know
yeah,
how this
the
property you
bills.
bought. Whose
Yeah.
name is it in? How much did you provide? Are you doing
Honestly,
the
David
renovation?
gives me bomb energy. And I don't know if it's that like he's just not good with articulating himself, or he's nervous, or he's just not saying the complete truth. Like I don't know what it is, because to me he never answers questions directly, first of
Mm-hmm.
all. And then the second thing is like his answers are never complete.
Yeah. So
Like they're not in depth. I don't know what the hell he talks about half of the time, because
it
I just don't get it.
is this what maybe Michelle was picking up on when she says he didn't give her, he always came off as inauthentic.
Probably, but like I feel like he knows something, he's hiding something. So it's not that he's just not being authentic. I think he's deliberately being fake because he knows he's really not up to par. That's why he has made his personality trait, she accepts me for who I am. I think that's what he has always looked for, because he knows he's basic and he doesn't have any dreams of becoming not basic. Because, like, what does having what does I think he just wants a woman to accept him for who he is. Also, remember that time when, oh, I can't remember what episode it was. I think they had found them out, him and Madison, and then he went to lunch with his friend,
Yeah.
and he was talking about his dating history.
Yes.
How like he had never really had to like put too much effort into anything. I think he had just depended on his looks or whatever.
Yeah.
I think he's exactly what Kevin said. He's Peter Pan.
The Peter Pan syndrome.
Yeah, he's living on past glory of his looks. He has never really had to work hard for anything. And like now that he's 37, he's like, shit, like I do have to work hard for some shit, but like I really don't want to. So let me just find someone who's going to love me for who I am. Because what does having two careers mean when your finances are not in order? What does that actually mean? Especially for him to state that like he's proud of having two careers. Why?
Because he could pick one. He has options.
Yeah,
I'm
but
just
like
kidding.
what is the end goal of these two careers? Like, oh, I like that I'm in the field that I work in because like I'm able to afford a certain lifestyle, comfort. I can help my mom with her finances, stuff like that. Like, what does having two careers mean for David?
We don't know because, like you said, he doesn't fully ever answer. And, him saying that she doesn't pay a damn thing for going out, that's great when they go out. But what about the day to day? How about the house that you bought? How about the bills that you pay? Especially later on in the episode when he whispers that Madison is the breadwinner. So,
That's what I was gonna say. She's the breadwinner, so like that's how they've done it. She's
so
the
I mean,
breadwinner and then he pays for dates. That's probably the arrangement. But like instead of him to just say that, he's going to tie it into he's financially supportive.
but I think that you've hit the nail on the head. And I don't even think even he knows. Sometimes people do things because maybe that's what's expected of them, but in their true deep mind, they don't want to do it. So where everyone expects you like scale up, you should all want to be this, let's build together and all that. And David's just like, as long as
No,
I can pay my bills and maybe a little bit of savings, I'm okay. But I don't have any big dreams or aspirations to be like a CEO or anything. And in his mind, he's like, why is that not okay? Why do people want that? I always say this, for those of you who watch Real Housewives, Sheree's clothing line came out late because she never wanted one. She was just told that this is your field, you should have one, and by now, and then she was working towards it, but she didn't really want it. It was just a lot of pressure that I should have my She by Sheree, but it never came out. So I feel
yeah.
like that's where David is, and I think that you clocked that in him, and he's just like, if someone can accept me for who I am, like I know the world is gonna call me unambitious, but it's really me just being content with where I am. I don't. He's the kind of person that would be like, I don't need all the riches. I don't need to be a millionaire. As long as my family is healthy, my kids are okay. He's the kind of person that if Madison is the breadwinner, I'll stay home and take care of the kids. That's okay. And honestly, there's nothing wrong. There are no rules to life. If the two people are okay with that, if she's okay with that, then it's fine.
Yeah, I just hate that he can't articulate it, but then you did
He
say
might
he
not
just
know.
doesn't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
he probably doesn't know that that's what is important to him.
Yeah, he might not
Yeah.
know. Like, because if you admit that you want to be a millionaire and that comes with a lot of work that you don't want to do, you'd rather just, go to the bars and watch football, well, don't say
Yeah.
things out loud. People don't say things out loud to themselves because then it's real. And then you have to do something about it. But if I don't know about it, then I don't know about it. I don't have to work towards it.
Yeah. And I don't know, like maybe there are women. I mean, not maybe. Madison definitely appreciates that type of man, but like
Yeah.
I guess that didn't work for Michelle because again, using the example of him living at home, he lived at home just because it was convenient. It's not because he was trying to save money. I
Yeah.
think he's just complacent, wanted his mom to probably cook for him and do his laundry and stuff like that. He's looking for another mom, and seems like he has found a little bit of it in Madison.
And that was always my caveat with him was like, if you are staying home, you can stay home, but do you have down payment money? Do you have money on there? Because, and here's the other thing. Oh, I just remembered this. So we're not like hypocrites or anything. David is not the first person who is living at home or living with a family member. If I recall correctly, Woody was living with his grandma, but
Oh,
we didn't judge him the same way. So this is why I'm giving kind of maybe credit to Michelle about, and to be fair, the first episode, Jason and I, we kind of like we're judging David. We're like, this guy's a player, this guy's something. We didn't know, we didn't have any facts, any proof. We're
yeah.
just like something off about this guy, but we don't know what it is. But Woody, we judge Woody too. I don't know
Yes, we
where you
did.
were
I
on Twitter.
I remember people judge. Oh, I judge Woody too. I called him a player. I called him all the things.
Exactly. I mean, he's friends when he was him and Miles, and they're like getting it. They're like, Miles, we get Woody. What?
Yes,
And we're like,
yes,
your friends are saying that or whatever. So yeah, Woody was living with his grandma, but I do not recall anybody calling him a bum or anything. We just said he was a player. And then we had, what is that guy's name? He was a mama's boy, Philadelphia, Keith. Keith,
yeah,
he couldn't even do basic things for himself. Like Woody, I think could even do laundry. Keith couldn't even do anything, but he was willing to learn. I don't remember if maybe social media was just not at its meanest at the point, but basically, and I'm sure there's more. Matt, he didn't even have a home. So the
I think they paired those people with the right women that were okay with that type of lifestyle. Again, it all depends on who your partner is. Your partner either brings out the best in you or showcases the worst. I always use the example of the guy from Love Is Blind, the one that's married, that was paired with Irina.
yeah, uh,
What's his name?
Bliss, and Zach.
Zach,
Zach,
right.
yes.
When Zach was with Irina, he seemed like such a loser and he like was making my skin crawl. But then when he got with Bliss, I'm like, oh, he's so sweet and so nice. And like, look, he looks so attractive, whatever. Like, Irina made him look like a creep. And Bliss made him look like this wholesome, handsome man. So again, it depends on who you're paired with.
But
Michelle,
I think I mean yes, the women help, but I think I
yeah,
mean from the viewer's lens. We're really looking at them like they're bums because we knew Michelle we didn't really fault Michelle. Like, yes, he stayed at home, but he said he had something he was doing, but it was more like, okay, if you don't have a place of your own, why are you coming on this show? Because the same thing for even 2 seasons ago. What's his name? Dom's husband. He
yeah,
lived, yeah, he didn't have a place. I mean, we know he didn't live
yeah.
in town
So
or
the reason
whatever.
why I'm saying like it wasn't amplified with those people is because the women that they were paired with did not amplify it. I don't
Well,
ever remember Amani saying anything about Woody living at home.
no, she didn't. But for okay, maybe I should speak for myself.
Yeah.
Whenever people like this come, I'm always like, "Are you ready for marriage? Like, at least even
Oh, okay.
pretend."
You
S-
judge them.
Yeah, well, not judge, but I have all these. My list is so long on things
Yeah.
that you should have if you're going to be matched with someone. Like, like if you just got out of a relationship, X them out of here. If they just X them out of here. If
Yeah.
you don't have a place, I just think that's really basic. If you say
It is.
yes, then am I going to start figuring this out when I don't even really know you? We don't have the
Yeah.
luxury of we've known each other. I understand your circumstance or whatever. So in the case of like even why can I remember Dom's husband? I see his face, but I don't remember his name. Even if he wasn't living in the state, I was like, get an Airbnb, lie. Like,
Yeah.
get a short term apartment to show, like, okay, I'm ready for this so that if it works. But when you don't have a place to stay, what you're telling me, because she said it wasn't giving me confidence, what you're saying is like, you're looking at this as a gamble. it is a gamble, but then put all your chips towards making it work, not
Yeah,
looking on the other side. So for me, I'm just like, so if you can't afford a place by yourself,
yeah.
can
So
you afford a
like
place for us?
I can't remember Dom's husband. Like it kind of made sense what he was saying. Like he just moved, blah 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 blah. He didn't want to like make that investment, whatever, in
In an
some,
apartment,
yeah, in somewhere that felt like permanent or whatever.
temporary.
Yeah, yeah, temporary. For Woody, I don't remember exactly why he mentioned that he lived at home. Right? I think that um David's living at home also it wasn't just living at home. I think she was looking at him as like a whole person, right? I think she was looking at like, oh, his mom does things for him. I'm a mama's boy. I think she got those vibes off of the wedding. So when you hear someone say, "Oh, I'm a mama's boy, I'm this, I'm that," and then you're living at home too, like it's just like ew.
Well, I don't even think she knew about the mom thing. Her thing was just like, you can't be 36 and live at home. You just have no life plans or life future.
I
And that
honestly
was it for
I
her.
think it was I okay for
Yeah.
her, but I think for me it was like a combination of things because he was giving bomb energy.
But
Like
I,
like there was no logic. In the beginning I trusted that there was some logic behind him living at home, but like as we continue to watch the episodes, I'm like, this guy is a bomb.
but I think this is the disadvantage of we don't know what aura we give out or anything. David is unfortunately from day one, especially with the way he talks so rapidly, it's always like, are you telling the truth? Like, even if you are telling the truth, it sounds like a lie. Like, why are you so intense? Why are you rushing to say this or whatever? So I
Yeah.
think that works to his disadvantage is that everything he says kind of just gives you have a question mark
Yeah.
behind
I
it.
gave
So
him the benefit of the doubt when he said he was living at home. Honestly,
yeah,
I did because I think we talked about it like culturally in some
yeah,
cultures, people do live at home like for a while or whatever. So I gave him the benefit of the doubt. But like as we just continue to watch the episodes, I'm like, okay, he's not
yeah,
living at home because he's trying to save money. This guy is just a lazy bum. That's
yeah.
the vibe that I got. So now I don't know if Woody and the rest of those guys that lived at home gave off that same energy and that same vibe.
I need to go back and just kind of see. But then when I know what I know now, especially those two guys are still together with their wives, so it's
Exactly.
gonna be hard to
Yeah.
look at that. So anyways, and then Kevin asks, and I like that he brought this up because I did ask Jason this question last week on the episode, and Kevin asked her, like, do you think Madison being younger plays a part in all this that happened? And this is where I think David misunderstood what the question was because I don't know why he just blurted out, "Oh, she's the breadwinner." What has that got to do with being 10 years younger? You just outed yourself for nothing because you're an overshare. So
Ah,
but Michelle says like, yeah, that she's thought about it, like, it probably did. And it's just kind of crazy to think that Michelle and Madison have 10 years between them. That's crazy.
yes. And Michelle looks great. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Like,
there was no way. From the minute that season ended, Michelle was like, I'm coming back to this reunion looking as hot as possible. So,
yeah. They look like they could either be the same age or Madison could be older than her. I'm not even
hmm
kidding. Yeah.
hmm so David apologizes again. And Kevin mentions just like, of all the things that that's not the lie that you want to tell. I think the one about the food and things like that. So Kevin says that Michelle will be fine. And I hope so, because when he asked her what she's looking for in a man, she still couldn't answer that. But she did admit that what she learned was that she can be judgmental, her walls are up, and she has trust issues. And David says he hopes that when they do group hangouts that she doesn't exclude herself, that there are no hard feelings and she should come out. And I'm like, David, you cannot create the situation and then be the one to say no hard feelings. That's not your call to say. And then after he says that, Kevin looks at Michelle and was like, "Oh, if thought bubbles could just come up from your head, like it would have been hilarious to see what you were thinking right now."
And
So,
like him saying she shouldn't exclude herself, I think this also speaks to the group at large. They've accepted David and Madison and they're all hanging out. And I think maybe Michelle is still probably holding a grudge or uncomfortable. I think that's why David even made that statement. And like the group at large, they're just annoying at this point.
I don't even know what I would do because it's just an awkward position. I'm sure they all have their individual relationships, but then it just feels like they're the ones who cheated, but Michelle is the one that has to
Yes, it's so irritating. Like these
bend
people
around.
that come on these shows act like they didn't have friends prior to this. Why must we all hang out? Like if I were to go on something like this, once filming is done, I'm going back to my normal life and ignoring all your bitches.
But here's a question. If this happened to someone else and not Michelle, would they still do this?
Yeah,
If this happened to Carla, if this happened to
yeah, they
Camille,
don't like Michelle.
would this have been the case? Or flip it, if Michelle wasn't so mean to David in the
Yeah,
beginning, what would the dynamics of the group be?
yeah,
That
yeah.
we'll never know.
Hmm.
So their segment is over, and Kevin says, "Thanks, guys, and thank you for maybe not telling us everything." I was like, Kevin with the shade,
Kevin was not letting it go.
with the shade. Okay, we move on to Carla and Juan. Guys, if you are not up to date, it's been a shit show this week because Carla and Juan have been at odds. Mostly Juan because Carla is not saying much, but Juan put out this video talking about he's being threatened, blackmailed by Carla's sisters. They have a secret on him. There's information they shouldn't have because there's an NDA, and I don't know, he seems really scared about the secret. And I'm like, what did Carla say? Carla's just going about her business. And that's it. I don't know what's going on. It seems to have quieted down in a while. But
Yeah.
that was all the rage earlier today. So watching this was kind of interesting, knowing everything that was happening. But they walk out together, give each other a high five. He compliments her and says all the things. And I think it's cute that Kevin stands up every time a couple walks in for their segment.
Oh, I
I
didn't
don't know.
notice.
It's very cute. So he asked them what attracted them to each other in the beginning, and Juan says her eyes and her great personality. Carla says that Juan was so goal driven and passionate about things. And Carla says, and then Kevin asked her, were you shocked that there were no sparks? And she was like, no, it wasn't shocking that there were no sparks because they operate differently. Juan is analytical, he thinks things over. And Kevin asked Juan, what held you back from being physical? And he was like, he just didn't want sex to be the focal point. That's what everybody else does. And Kevin asked, when did he realize that there were attraction issues? Like, don't say it like, I don't know. When he said attraction issues, it was just basically like I heard, like maybe erectile dysfunctional issues or something. Like, attraction issues just sounds like a disease.
Oh my god.
And he said it wasn't anything physical, that she's obviously a beautiful woman, that it was just more about the lifestyle, that, something was missing and something was off. And Kevin says, so let's talk about the intimacy coach. Juan says, yeah, it wasn't my style. I didn't get much from it. And Carla was like, yeah, but we needed it. There are ways to be intimate with your partner without sex. So if you had been open to it, it may have helped. And Kevin asked Carla if she thought there was anything that could grow from their relationship. And she said no. He said, when did you know? And she said, from the honeymoon. But honestly, Wendy, I think we all kind of knew. We've all kind of said that at some point they had a conversation. They decided that this was not for them. And they just decided to be cordial, for the rest
Yeah.
of it. But are we surprised that she said from the honeymoon?
Um thinking back to that honeymoon, remember when he said he didn't think about her or whatever, and she took it to heart so
Hmm.
much, and we were all like, see, sucky comment, but like, Carla, why did you take it to heart so much? So maybe she actually knew at that point
Yeah.
that, and maybe that's the secret that they're all hiding that they discussed.
um Yeah, I think the honeymoon was a turning point because I even still felt like he was trying even up until the photo shoot.
Yeah, but like she was so sad too during that photo shoot. So maybe something had happened. I remember saying like maybe something else happened because it couldn't be just that one comment that made her like just,
Yeah.
um
React
be
that way.
so react that way and be like sad. Not even she went from like angry to like sad. She looked really sad during that photo shoot.
That's a possibility, but I think for me at the time, I just took it like that's her trigger point. Like we all have things that trigger us from our childhood, whatever. And I think she's mentioned before, like not getting attention and what she was looking for or what speaks to her as a love language is just showing attention and showing that you're putting the person first. And he just actually saying, "Oh yeah, I forgot about you," and saying that David was having such a bad day, I wanted to make him feel better. Like, hello, what about me or whatever.
Yeah.
I took it as her just being really triggered, but
Mhm.
it's not outside the realm of possibility that maybe something else happened. Who knows? But the same way we always say the switch between MM and Ikechi happened after the apartment, the
Yeah.
switch between Juan and Carla, I think, happened
At the honeymoon.
at the honeymoon. So
Yeah.
yeah, she's
Yeah.
probably speaking the truth and we don't know all the details. So she says like that the thing about Kevin asks him why, and he says the thing is that he beats to his own drum and he just had no consideration for her being his partner. Like you said, Wendy, like this is still a year later, still a
Mhm.
thing for her. Juan takes accountability for saying that he forgot about her. He was like, it was just a wrong choice of words. He shouldn't have said that. And he, this man, he now says, like, yeah, like at the time, the other guys that were buying like massages for their wives and things. And I'm like, Juan, how is this helping your case? And Carla is like, well, maybe it wasn't about the money and it was just being thoughtful about, your partner.
Yeah.
Juan was like, well, I thought I showed it by being loyal, thoughtful, respectful. I didn't cheat on you. And Kevin is like, sir, you are naming all the things you're supposed to do when you get married. I'm like, yes, because what he was doing was comparing himself to David. Instead of just on a base level, he's like, well, I didn't cheat on you. You should be grateful
Exactly.
for that. So Kevin says, what were you expecting, from your husband? And she was like, no, I wasn't expecting anything. And Juan is like, but your comments say otherwise. Like you were expecting something and I didn't feel the shoes that you were expecting. This was when I started staring at Juan's bow tie. Was it wooden? Was it wood? No, I'm being very I'm being very serious here. Like, I think someone posted the Pee Wee Herman like bow tie, but I was looking and I was like, is it brown or is it wood or is this what is going on in here?
It looked like wood to
It
me,
did,
but
right? Okay.
yes. But I'm
But
sure it's not wood.
okay, I don't know. You can't put it past one. So, so one then I mean she admits to it and is like, okay, I guess that was one expectation that I had. Juan says that he learned from her that maybe he has to relax and, tap out from the everyday routine. They kept feeding us this thing that Juan is so regimented, so this or whatever. And I honestly don't think that they portrayed that well on the show. Like, if they didn't tell us that, I wouldn't pick up on it because I didn't see it. I don't,
I didn't either, to be honest. Like, Juan just seems like a goofball to me, and he seems like someone that's trying to push like some weird app that no one. He gives too much of a sales guy to
yeah.
me, and I don't take too kindly to people that try to sell me shit. So, uh,
Wendy, one
like,
of these days, we're going to do a podcast solely on what do you like? We know what you don't like.
like those people that are so salesy, but like they actually don't really have too much knowledge about the stuff that they're selling, but they're just very, it's giving a little bit like scammy vibe. And that's what um Juan gave to me. He didn't give like someone that's like corporate, like he didn't give like a Allen.
Yeah. So I want to deviate for a second, and I feel like I've asked you this, but I don't trust my memory and I don't remember. Can
Hmm.
you give me one or two MAFS guys that is not Woody that you liked?
Like for what reason though?
Just like who is one person that you're like, oh, I liked him. But the fact that you're asking me to even break it down, that's a simple question. Give me two MAFS husbands, whether they ended up with someone or not, that you're like, oh, I liked him. Is there any?
I thought Keith was attractive. Keith from Keith and Iris.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about because now I'm thinking about do I say not looks, but like in general, altogether? Like, or should I stop wasting my time? Do they exist?
You shot yourself in the foot with that one.
Okay.
Oh, I liked the Mike from Mike and Jasmina. I
Okay.
liked Mike. Yes, I liked Mike.
I would not, I would say I would not have guessed that. But see,
I
did we give him crap too? He had three roommates.
but that was Boston.
I don't give a fuck.
Boston is so expensive. Like I always just expect these things from like the East Coast.
Okay, completely understood. But if they were going to be a yes, either way, you have to be prepared.
Yeah, I don't think I gave Mike. I mean, I like Mike. Imagine.
I know. I'm just. That's why I said I would never have guessed that. But
Yeah.
okay. But I'm just trying to think like this whole. Okay, we've beat this dead horse. So I think we decided that it's David's personality, and as the seasons went, we didn't know. But I'm just saying, like from the beginning, I'm just wondering: did the tides change in the world where have
Who knows?
is having roommates and living with your parents the same thing and all that? I think I'm just trying to say like David living at home just seems like this big thing, I guess, for Michelle, and then for
Yeah.
some people that is like, but again, it's almost like he's the first, but he's not.
Yeah, I think it's the bum energy that he gave off, and
Okay.
like he's people can't see him, unfortunately, outside of this cheating scandal now.
Mm. Okay.
So would have to go back to prior, like before the cheating scandal, to see if we felt the same way about him living at home. But like I think as of today, people are conflating like
All
his
of that
image.
together
Yeah.
as a
So like
personality.
it's yeah. But
Okay.
to answer your question, Keith and Mike, okay?
Okay. Well done. I didn't think we would even get one. Okay, so Carla says that she learned that she probably needs to reel it back and show that she has a more serious side to herself. Carla says that they had great communication, which she's never had in any relationship, which goes to say a lot for her
Because
past.
she was with a friend. Like at this point, like you never really have nothing to lose
Mm,
when you feel like you're in a more platonic relationship with someone as to like a romantic relationship. That's why
yeah.
to me I feel like they had great communication because they were friends. Now
Com-
when you're building a romantic relationship with someone, I think like that's much harder than building a friendship with
yeah,
someone, and
that's a
yeah,
good point.
the
There's
stakes
less
are
stakes.
higher. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So he talks about his girlfriend. They show a video of them dancing and that they align more their values and stuff in life. And I don't know why Kevin didn't ask the question about how she said that they shouldn't be friends. And then all of a sudden, we see that they're friends. They have business discussions, they're meeting and they're talking for coffee and all that. That's what I wanted to know.
Nobody on this cast stood on business. They're all pussy. Like, ugh.
Oh my God, Wendy.
They were so annoying. Like, I'm like, okay, I don't need you to hold a grudge for a year, but like, can you just stand on business a little bit? Like, can you just, or at least go back to like how you were feeling at that time and really articulate it and blah, 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 without sounding like you're still holding a grudge. I feel like there's a way that you can still do that without holding a grudge.
Well, I think they all felt like, what's the point? They're together. I think Madison and David lasting a year turned everything. I don't think anyone expected them, the cast, to last this long. And the
Yeah.
fact that they did, in their mind, is like, what are we going to be mad for? It's making our life harder, trying to separate and do this. They're together. We might as well just accept it. And I don't want to be the one causing problems. That's what I think. I don't know, because the shift was crazy.
Yeah. So crazy. Like, very, very. I don't know. I just feel like there's a way that they could have still done it without. Like, don't they have other friends? Must they hang out as a group?
Oh no, they gotta stick together, I guess. That's the one thing. After every MAF season, everyone. But I always say that for other reality shows. Like, but the other reality shows, I know what the reason is. Like when they all have a show, then they feel they have to stick together. It's part of the image because to be like an influencer, people know you from that show. People know that friendship that you have, so you know, you have to maintain that image or whatever. And so they always hang out together. But with MAFs, I don't know what the reason is. They genuinely like each other. They should all just be like Ikechi. Ikechi doesn't care about any of them.
Yeah.
Okay, so all the men come back for their segment. And Kevin is like, "Oh, you guys always stick up for each other." And Alan says, "Yeah, our sticking together shows our individual maturity." He does a kind of similar game that he did with the ladies. Who gives the best advice? They all say Thomas, but then Thomas says Juan and then says, "And David." I'm like, okay. Who has the most swag? And they all say Ikechi. And they said Ikechi's the one they could most see on GQ. You want to take that, Wendy?
LOL. See, this is part of this kumbaya shit that they're doing that's pissing me off. Like, what do they actually know about Ikechi that they're giving him any sort of awards for anything? Like, they're being so annoying.
They like the way he dresses. They like the way he tied a blue bandana on his green hats at the reunion. I don't know if anyone saw it, but there's a bandana tied around his hat and it matches his blue frames. Oh
Think
my
he has
God.
managed to convince them about his artistic side and how he's so poetic and emotional that they've tied that to like his entire image because of that artistic poetic thing. He also dresses nice with the hats and the glasses and the things. Like, he's so lame. Like,
Okay.
they're all lame.
So I pose it to you. Who has the most swag in the group? And don't say no, none of them.
What is swag? I'm about to annoy you.
I'm not even answering. Just get on with it so we can.
Who has the most swag? Definitely not Thomas.
All right. We're not going to waste all this time here,
Yeah,
but
no one.
I would give it to Thomas.
Really?
I said what I said. Out of all of them, I mean, arguably Thomas or Alan. To be honest with you, I would give it
Alan. Yeah,
to
I think Alan.
Thomas or Alan of all the guys of who has the most swag. There's something about Thomas, and I've said this before. I think it was even with you. Thomas has this quiet confidence that I don't even want to say mature because it sounds like he's 60. He's not, but I'm okay with it.
So my friend says the same thing about Thomas. So in fact, like, she called me the other day. She was like, "Oh, did you see him at the reunion?" I was just like, "Oh, I don't
Yeah,
know."
because even when all the dramas are, he can make his point. He's always so calm. He's always so everybody, interprets swag differently.
Yeah,
Like so, I don't know.
I think it's the inflection in his voice that doesn't make
Not
him.
really. Oh, okay. Because he speaks so monotone.
Yes, he's like
Well, that's okay.
like a robot, like AI.
That's okay. I just feel
Not
like
to
he's
me.
quiet, confident. I asked you. You said nobody. That was my answer. So it is what it is. So
I'll
they
pick
said
Alan over him though.
okay.
Yeah.
So for swag, David says Thomas. They said who's an open book. Everyone says Alan. Who's gonna get married next? Everyone says David. Alan looks a little uncomfortable, but I swear to God, after this reunion and the year is up and they've proven to everyone that they can last a year, these two better last. And I hope they don't give in to pressure and everything. And I hope they genuinely like each other because that's
Oh,
a
we
lot of
know David likes her. That's for sure.
So Kevin brings up the text again. I am me myself and I am tired of this text. There's nothing else to squeeze out of this text message, but I guess they have to talk about it. Juan says he was watching. The lie was so bad that he would have just said I was drunk. I wanted to connect with you and I could shoot my shot with you to Michelle. Thomas said he just would have had a better lie. Kevin tells Ikechi that, he's the only one that's still single and who is the right woman for you. And he says he can't answer it. This is the same thing like when they asked Michelle, like, what kind of guy are you looking for? And she can't answer it. And maybe I'm reading too deep into it, but I feel like if you ask someone what kind of person works for you and you're not able to answer it, that in itself is a problem. If you're not able to articulate what it is that you're looking for, how are you going to identify what it is that you're looking for?
Ikechi is unserious. That's why he doesn't know the type of woman that he wants. He has probably dated the type of woman that he wants, but like turned out like she still wasn't the woman that he wants. He don't know what he wants. He's right. I agree with him. He should he should stay single.
He says that he's not looking right now. He's enjoying his time, he's chilling, and that he kind of lost himself during the journey. Um, they ask Kevin asks everyone how it feels to see Alan happy. And I get where he's coming from, but I thought that was an odd question. It just almost feels like they're making Alan to be like this wounded puppy out of everything. And yes, but let's not get it to a point where it becomes overdone.
Alan doesn't even look happy.
He doesn't. But still, let's go with the flow that they're saying he looks happy. And they're all talking, and David chimes in to be the loudest. I'm like, David, this is where you keep quiet. Like, read the room.
Maybe it's that nervous thing.
Yeah, maybe it is. He doesn't like silence, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, Kevin asks if they will invite each other to each other's weddings. They're all like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But I'm so glad that Alan said, no disrespect, but there are boundaries. I am not going to your wedding, David. And I'm like, thank God, because like you said, this kumbaya thing, we get it, we moved on, but also attending the wedding would be kind of strange, I think.
Yeah, and ridiculous.
So they asked Thomas how he feels now as a married person. He says he goes to Juan and David for advice a lot, and he still leans on them. And
Why is
he,
anyone going to David for advice? Why is anyone going to David for advice?
I don't know, maybe he does give good advice, but yeah, he said he gained brothers from them. Then my favorite part happens. The experts come in and Dr. Pia shares her pregnancy. And it was really sweet because she shares that it was a miracle baby. She didn't think she could get pregnant. So it was a surprise. And there she was. So I think she gave birth in January and this was filmed in November. So she was pretty close
Yeah,
to
I think she
her
got
due date.
married too.
Yeah.
Because she was engaged, so she got married as well.
So the experts do what they do best. They pat themselves on the back for matching people. Like, they're proud of this cast, that they were mature, and these were people who really wanted marriage. Okay. Pastor Cal says the whole David and Madison thing took them by surprise, but they were just really disappointed with the timing. So Michelle and Alan come in first because they're the wounded parties. And Alan says, being on this show is a big red flag for him when he started dating, that they look at him as being desperate. And he just kind of learned to find the right moment to let them know that he was on a dating show. I don't know why you would tell someone you're on a dating show on your first date or early moments. Like, let them get to know you.
Oh no, I would say that immediately.
Oh,
You with me?
why?
Because in this day and age where people Google people immediately, like if I Googled that person and saw that, I would be like freaked out. So I'd rather like share that with the person in
Yeah.
person first.
Okay.
And obviously, I'm not just be like, "Hi, nice to meet you." I was at a dating show. Like, I would ease.
David would do that.
True.
um,
Yeah.
you're probably right. I am one of the people who don't Google people, or I didn't used to Google people, and I remember people
Yeah.
always look at me like, "Are you crazy?" But it doesn't even occur to me to Google people.
Yeah.
But
I don't Google people either, but I'm saying in this day and age where people Google people, like I
yeah,
would volunteer that information.
I'll let them bring it up, but I'll tell them on my own time. Like, get to know me. It's easier when someone knows you and they're like, okay, but they're interesting. I'll give them a chance than for them to form an opinion and you're just like, oh, I was on a dating show. But if they bring it up, like, okay, so I looked you up, because if you've looked me up and you found out and you still came on the date with me, okay, then it looks like you're giving me a chance. But I'm not, I'm just going to give some time, like, hey, I got something to tell you. But I have
Yeah.
ammunition with you knowing a little bit of me to already know, like, me being on a dating show is not the sum of me. So
Yeah.
if that plus what you know of me is okay, then we're good to proceed.
Yeah, but you know how people meet people everywhere now, like through dating apps and stuff like that. So people are more inclined to check people out before they go on dates. Now, if I met you through a friend or whatever, I'll probably have an idea that you were married before, but I wouldn't know if you were on a TV show. So I think that's why people like check and do their Googles and stuff like that. I don't I just trust that I'm making the best decision for myself. And I try to get to know people before Googling anything. So
Okay.
yeah, makes sense for both parties.
So Dr. Pierre is focused on them learning a lot about themselves, even if it didn't work out into marriage. And then Alan says all the things that he didn't change, that he doesn't think he changed at his core. Everything else was superficial, because I think they were talking about, all the changes he made that he was willing to make. And Alan was like, make no mistake, those were superficial things, but at my core, I didn't change. So Dr. Pepper asked Michelle to say, have you learned? anything because she wasn't going to let her go scot free. And Michelle does her practice thing. I was judgmental. I need to let my guard down. I don't trust people. And then Dr. Pepper was like, so would you rewrite anything? And Michelle says, the way that I acted, I would do it. Like I own up to how I treated him and I was a big brat and I apologized to him. Um, I wondered when she apologized. Let me put it that way
Yeah,
because it doesn't look like they were on speaking terms when everything blew up. So is she just when did this happen? When did this apology? It wasn't on camera.
yeah,
So when exactly did this apology happen? I would like to know.
yep.
So Dr. Pia says that the timing of the text should be questioned because there's no honesty there. Dr. Pia's facial expressions this whole time was hilarious. She can't hide her facial expressions. Michelle asked the experts that did they have any inclinations that this was happening before they brought it to them, and they said they had no clue. And I can understand her asking because I remember when she called Pascal to tell him, and if you look at every time the experts come, they always tell them, we get downloads every day on what you guys do. So how did you not know about this? And the producers just said, go ahead, call Pascal. We're going to blindside him. Like he's not going to know what is happening. So I don't see Pascal as a liar, but I just also wondered how they had no idea that this was happening.
Probably producer driven as well. The producers were like, we need to capture the authentic moment that this happens. Like, this is big. This could be a big one for the show. I can see them doing all that.
But they and the experts should be on the same side, right?
Yeah, but they wanted a real reaction from the experts. So I'm sure
Oh,
they just, yeah, they were like, let's forget what we do normally. Let's
okay.
capture the real emotions from this. Could
Okay.
be a moment.
So Michelle also says that there were rumors that they were paired first, they being Madison and David, and then at the last minute they switched. And before she even finished, Pascal is like BS, BS. But that could also be seen in the matchmaking. Again, I don't remember, but you can verify there. But I mean, there could be stuff that wasn't on camera that maybe she heard. I think I would have asked her, who did you hear this rumor from?
People on Reddit, because people on Reddit are like showing receipts, and I say receipts in quotes because one of the receipts was like a very, very, very blurry picture of David on the table while Madison's picture was like up on the screen. So saying that David was one of the folks that they were considering from Madison. So like that was just pictures, but like I don't think they ever like said, oh, I think it's going to be between David and Alan or whatever. But his picture was there. But I don't know. That doesn't really prove anything as far
No,
as
I
I'm
don't think it's
concerned.
true because as Dr. Pia says, she's like that they wanted someone else for Madison, but race was a factor. Madison made it clear that she didn't want a black man, so they were never going to put her with David.
Yeah.
So I don't even know why she asked that question, but okay. But I also noticed that they didn't bring up the whole race thing again
Yeah.
in the reunion. I think maybe they were like, yeah, we're just gonna be
Stay away.
safe. We'll be
Yeah.
safe with that because they also didn't ask Michelle about her light skinned black man. Otherwise,
Yeah.
Kevin usually would have asked that question,
Yeah.
but they didn't ask that. But they all tell Alan that he's great, he'll be fine. Like it's good to see that he's happy and that he's good. But they also didn't tell Michelle, you're great, you'll be good, you'll be fine. But that could just be me. I mean, they've met so many times at this reunion. Everyone has had a rotation so many times. And remember, before the season ended, they all met with the experts too.
Yeah.
So all this is just a repetition. I think at some point where they asked the experts, "Do you have anything else you want to say?" They're like, "Really, no, because we've talked about it so many times." So before they go to commercial, Kevin says, "We will be joined by Emem's fiance," and Pascal was like, "Wow." But really, though, he has to say wow because they really just made Brandon a cast member. Brandon got two proposals, a group outing, a meet the friends, a meet the family, and now he's at the reunion. Like they just made this man a cast member. Like, why did they feel like we needed to see this much of him?
I'm sure he pushed for it
It doesn't matter.
somehow.
He doesn't have that much clout. Like they
Yeah.
make the final choice of what will make sense or not. I just don't understand this. Like he
I'm
got
sure I'm sure he presented himself in such a way that they were like, oh, we have to have him on TV. Look at
okay.
all the drama that he was doing at
I
the
was about to
reunion.
disagree, but I don't. I agree, but I don't think he presented himself. They just looked at him and were like, "Oh, okay, we can." He doesn't have to present. His
Yeah,
him
yeah, you're
is
right.
comical, and they're just like,
Yes,
"All right, we're going to mind this." But I
yes.
just, oh my god, the cringe factor.
Hmm.
So Emem and Ikechi come out. They make it seem like Emem and Brandon were in the same room with Ikechi. They were not, because Emem and Brandon were, was this a handshake or something or whatever? And they go out with Kevin. Ikechi said she felt like MM didn't want to get to know him and something just didn't feel right. Dr. Pepper says, please, can you explain what that means? He says, yeah, like I just didn't feel like she wanted to know me. And he was like, okay, it goes both ways. That, he probably stuck to his way of doing things and he needs someone who's open and honest. Dr. P is already making a face. And Kevin asked, like, I see your face, like, what's going on? And she's like, I'm just confused. Like, that's not what I watched. But just note that Ikechi said he needed someone who's open and honest because it's gonna come up later. I'm gonna bring it up with something else that he says. So she asks, "How was Sheena trying to get to know you?" And he said, "She just didn't." And then he was like, "You know what? At some point, maybe I just didn't want it from her." And Dr. P is like, "Thank you for saying that." The way Dr. P is holding back, I feel so bad for her. She has to edit. So MM says that's all nice and good now, but she felt robbed of the experience and was matched with someone who wasn't ready to be vulnerable. So Pastor Cal is talking to Ikechi and is like, don't lead with feelings over principles when you get into a future relationship and all that. And he's like, okay, he gets that. And then Kevin is like, okay, Brandon is about to come in and join us. Before he even finishes, Ikechi flees the room. And as Brandon is walking in, he tries to give Ikechi a handshake. And Ikechi wouldn't shake his hand. And he just starts saying, I just made a bet, y'all, and I won. And I'm like, this guy hasn't even sat down and I'm already cringing. Like, what is happening right now? Why is he on here?
I was disgusted. I was like, wow, somebody I dislike more than Ikechi. Huh.
I feel like Brandon is a combination of Ikechi and David. In terms of like with Ikechi, he tries to do the whole word poetry thing. And then with David, he's just an oversharer. He just keeps talking and talking. And again, I don't know if I don't think it's a nervous tick. I just think thinks he's being charming, but it's really not. But I feel like Ikechi is holding back. That's why when he said he wanted someone that was open and honest, I know he feels like MM was being dishonest. There is no way this was a blind date. This was a love at first sight, and she'd been talking to someone this whole time, and then she come up with an engagement. And I feel like he feels that they're not pushing as hard. And to be quite honest, she's not getting as much flack. Like everyone admits that, yes, like okay, this doesn't make sense, but it's okay
Yeah.
and we're moving past it because they didn't even bring up the whole thing. They could have easily played when Madison says the whole group is not giving as much, support to them as they are to them. So I think that's what Ikechi meant when he said she's not like he wanted someone that was open and honest. But at the same time, I don't know how true that is because we watched and what we saw, MM was giving her 110%, right?
I think did was it the one that said it felt inauthentic?
Who?
Ikechi, like, did he say his relationship with MM felt inauthentic? Did he use
I
those
can't
words?
remember, but it sounds like him.
Because if he did say inauthentic, I can see why. MM actually makes me feel uncomfortable now. Remember, I said this at the beginning of the season that she makes me feel uncomfortable because it's like she does a lot and it seems fake.
But I think there are people like that. And she said that at the end where she's like, is it passionate or people that are, there are people that will say like, oh, they're so extra. There are people like that. Like, I don't want to fault her for that because I understand it.
Hmm.
It may not be a cup of tea, but yes, I can see how she was extra because that's when she was doing I'm going to see my husband, my man, my man, my man. And she met someone else that's extra. She doesn't even flinch a second when Brandon does any of these things. Like, I kept watching to be like, are you embarrassed? Are you like, she was fine.
Actually, she looked tired, but then I mean, we come to find out that she did have like a miscarriage during the whatever. So like to me, she just looked exhausted actually and unhappy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, to me, she just looked like blah. Like she didn't look like her energetic self. She actually looked really tired.
I think for me, these reunions are long. Like it's like a whole day and a whole thing. Like after a while, and you're saying the same things, and we just see the edited versions. At some point, you'd be tired.
But the seasons are long as well, and filming and doing all that stuff. But she had energy. Like this didn't feel like MM to me. I think it's the miscarriage. But then I was also looking at her like, MM, blink and let us know you're okay. Like, are you like I honestly I'm confused by her. She makes me uncomfortable because I can't pinpoint her.
I
And
think
this
it's
is
a,
not going from an Ikechi standpoint because he makes me uncomfortable as well. And maybe they both maybe he recognizes the fakeness in her because he's fake too. We're a mirror reflection of the things that we don't like the most about ourselves.
so. I mean, again, a possibility. I think the thing with is people not being able to reconcile someone you see as smart, put together, intelligent, and all that. But when it comes to romance or romantic love, it doesn't really translate. At least maybe I'm speaking for myself. That's what
Yeah.
doesn't translate. But the thing is that it is common, and there are a lot of people that are like that, where it doesn't like want there's just blinders when it comes to romantic love.
Like MM's definition of a happy relationship is people love bombing her.
Well, besides Brandon, do we have examples of that?
Ikechi did at the beginning of the relationship.
What is the difference between love bombing and affirmations?
Man, that wasn't no affirmations. Wait, what? Like that was just so performative too. I feel like people that are love bombing people are always performing as well. It's like they're very showy about it. They want either other people to know
Yeah.
about their love or they want to feel like they are the one showering you with all these things. Like it's not coming from a place of genuine like or love or anything. It's like they're trying to fulfill some weird thing either for themselves or for an audience. And
Yeah.
that's what Ikechi was doing in the beginning.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, that's the other thing they have in common. Yes, you're right. It's performative, but I can't make sense of it. And I think that's the thing with Like I hesitate to I think you called her fake. I hesitate to call her fake. I just think it's not being able to reconcile. Like people can be just so different when it comes to a desire for romantic love, I guess. That's where I ended up with her.
Yeah, maybe I wouldn't use the word fake. I would just use not authentic.
What is the difference? what we went through this with Dave. I said fake. You said no. I was saying authentic, and I'm like, what is the difference between between both? Yeah,
Actually, I don't know what the difference is, but like, I don't know. Fake just has like this very negative connotation to it. I think inauthentic like just hits like a little less
I don't
like
know. I
mean
see the same
than
thing to
fake.
me. One just has more letters, but and that's the thing. If MM is telling us that we're happy, my only prayer is that I hope she is genuinely happy because again, anybody can say they're happy. We don't know. So I hope she's genuinely happy, and then you have to accept that people like different things. We've seen people on this show that were like, "Oh, okay, this was what works for you. Hey, that's great." And it is what it is. And
I think MM's one has been the most jarring. It's kind of like with Lindsay, right? You asked me like how I feel about her. You said she has turned a new leaf or whatever. I don't
no, I said
follow.
it looks like,
It
yeah,
looks like she may
yeah.
have like turned a new leaf. Like to me, someone like Lindsay was crazy. She was a lot. She was very strange or whatever. But like someone married her and had a baby with her, and we're assuming that she probably like turned a new leaf. Maybe that's why that was possible. Or like Lindsay to me was jarring. Like I'm trying to respond to like what you said about the crazy people that have been on this show, and people are like, Lindsay
Well,
was one of those jarring people. I think MM comes in second to me.
wow. That's
She's
really
she's
high.
really freaking me out.
That is a very strong reaction.
Yes. I'm really freaked out by her reaction to all these things that's happening to her. Like I would never forget when, like, Tane, somebody accused you of SA. Like it doesn't get any worse than that. I think maybe that's why I'm freaked out. And she was still going at it and going at it and going at it. And then when they met with Dr. Pia and they fought, and then said, "Let's go play video games." And she's replaying that entire thing to Michelle. And she says, "I know he still likes me." What? Are you okay?
But I mean, yeah, so that's I don't know if we're saying the same thing where I just feel like she has blinders on when it comes to romantic love. And maybe we don't know enough about her to associate that with anything. But anyways,
It's almost like she's crazy to me. Like
those
it's
are
not just a
harsh accusations, Wendy. You can't just sit there and call someone crazy. There's just someone who desires love from a man, and the first person who gives it to her, whether it's a lot to us, but it's just like consistent to her based on like how bad her past dating. She said she's dated people worse than Ikechi. So if someone comes and is like what you call love bombing and doing all the things, so for her, that's what it is, you know?
yeah, I don't know. It just almost seems like she has no boundaries and she would like accept anything just so long as the person is consistently showing her love. And that's very concerning.
Wait, repeat that. She has no boundaries and would accept anything as long as they're showing her love.
Yeah. Like that's all they need to show her.
Is love.
Yeah.
Should there be anything else they're showing her? Isn't that what everyone's looking for? Consistent love?
Yeah, but like it's like love is not just a feeling or it's not just words. It's like there's actions behind like the love words and
And
or love and stuff like that. And I just don't think that I think Brendan is fake.
yeah, no, 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 no. I'm not disagreeing with you. Like when you say
Yeah.
you think Brandon is, I think 90% of people think that. But
Yeah.
it to her, it's what her definition is.
She's
So when
creepy.
she says actions, I think the point that you made, which I can accept, is how is she interpreting things? So if Ikechi can say all these mean things to you and he's like, let's go play video games, and in your mind you're like, okay, there's hope for that. Now that
Yeah.
I can see is concerning. But at the end of the day, we are not in these people's lives. We do not know what is happening, what is keeping them together. And that's why my only hope and prayer is that she's genuinely happy.
Yeah,
That's
she
all.
didn't look happy though. She looked tired. I wouldn't say she looked sad. She just looked tired.
So Brandon sat down and then he said he made a bet that Ikechi wasn't man enough to shake his hand, and then now he didn't shake his hand. And he's sitting down with Emem and they're holding hands just like David and Madison. Experts say this is the first time that they are meeting Brandon because Kevin is like, what do you think? And like it was so quick, but what was the motivation? I can't remember who asked. Was it the guy or the need? And I'm like, you guys are so shady. And MM says it was the love, that it was love at first sight and it was scary, but she couldn't let it go. And she hasn't had any inconsistencies. And then he leans in for a kiss. And I don't know what he's saying, but he starts telling us the story. He says it was a leap of faith and they had a long, fun night. And then he makes clapping noises with his hands to indicate that they had sex and that the next morning the pillow talk was great. And then, he called. It was just so embarrassing because it's just at your big age. Again, the same thing we say, you're not in high school. We don't need to know that you had sex. We get it. You don't need to prove anything to us. But even just the way he said it, you could even like in a classy way, just be like, it was a good night, or we don't even need to know that you had sex, but let's imagine that we need to know that you had sex. You could just be like, we had a fun night. Everybody can pick up what you're putting down. But to make the clapping noises with your hands was very crass.
And this is what makes me go back to the fact that MM can like shapeshift and just accept anything, because like this is not good. Like this is not okay. And I think she adjusts herself to fit every man's expectations or whatever, so long as they're giving her basic needs of
Yeah.
love or whatever. And to me, that's a bit problematic
Yeah. And just to
because there
reiterate,
are other
when I
things.
said the whole
Yeah,
love thing, not
yeah,
that she shouldn't get love, but I understand what you're saying. Like, it's not just the love, but there should be a 360 and other things
yeah,
that are encompassing that and all that. I'm
yeah,
just playing devil's advocate
yeah. I
because
know, I know you
it's
are.
all very I
Yeah.
think even I'm finding it hard to reconcile, but I'm giving grace for the fact like I don't want to yuck nobody's yum. Like if she's happy with him, again, doesn't affect we're not there. And if she's happy, I don't want to say that. Like I don't get it, but she gets it. If she likes it, I love it. But it's very hard, to decipher. My beef with him is that he at one point said MM.
Yes.
Carla calls her MM, and I know it's the Nigerian in us. Like it's
Yes.
MM, not MM like a M&M. And then Kevin kept saying EKG, and I'm like, just change the G to Chi, like
Yeah.
EKG. It's not that hard. Like sound it out. So that was
Yeah.
my only thing. Was like, if you're gonna marry her, at least be able to say her name right. It's not MM.
That's what I felt too. I'm like, look at you being all fake here. You can't say an actual Nigerian name.
Then he gets up and says, Pascal, I would love for you to marry us. I don't want to leave here without her being my wife. I want to leave on the plane and say that she's my wife. And Pascal is looking at this man like, boy, is you crazy? You're not even divorced. You're not allowed to divorce until the show is over. Like, what is this performative shit? Like, what are you doing? Like, you don't even need to do all that. And you think that they will agree to be clowns in your circus? Like, Pascal says, yeah, we're gonna talk. Let's talk offline. Like, there are many words to be said, but it'll be offline.
You know, I couldn't be friends with MM. I would ain't no way. I would have to tell you the truth.
Well, I mean, didn't Carla say it? But now she's okay with it. At some point, here's the thing. Sometimes you see your friends doing things, and like I've said this, as I get older, I'm now in camp. You like it, I love it. Like you can't always beat your friends over the head. Like you need to. People will always do what they want to do. It doesn't make a difference.
I can't imagine that man being around me. Oh my god. See, there are certain things that I can tolerate with men, but that clout chasing thing that Brandon is doing will drive me crazy.
Yeah,
Like that will absolutely drive me nuts. Like attention seeking, being like, and maybe I'm just like because it's my own personal feelings around these types of behaviors. Maybe that's why I'm being hard on MM, because I'm just like I can't believe she's okay with this, because I wouldn't be okay with this.
believe it.
Just like you're saying, she's not me, I'm not her. If she likes it, good for her. But it's so insane to me because I guess I'm imagining that it's me. I
Yeah.
guess.
So after he asks, where the rest of the world is cringing, tells the experts, now you see, that is the kind of level of commitment I was looking for. Like she's so proud of this man for asking. Also, did you
Time I say this thing, you're like the devil's advocate, and then you say something else, and I'm just like, can you see how crazy she looks?
Yeah, but I'm trying to let you know that yes, it is. I'm not going to call her crazy. I'm just not going to call her crazy. I'm sorry. So, I'm just saying that I see what you're seeing, but just because it's a different lens from mine, because I'm pretty sure there's something I do that other people are going to call like insane. I can't do
But
what she's
do you
doing.
do you know why? Do you know how you'd be different? I feel like you say, "Oh, I know this is crazy, but I don't care."
I think she said that. She said it was love at first sight and I couldn't let it go. I know y'all think it's fast, but I don't care. He makes me feel good. But the thing is, she doesn't even see anything. Where I'm concerned is all the cringy things he does. All of his like his posts and stuff is not without her. And he makes a comment later on where it's like, "I love that I'm in this room just because she's in this room." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" But again, if she's fine, who are we? I don't want to keep repeating myself, but just take it as a baseline. You have to come to terms with it because I have.
Well, I
So
guess the season is going to be over soon, so I
it sure
guess.
will. One more. So
Yeah.
Kevin asked them about kids. Like, do they want kids? They both say yes. And he's like, how soon? And again, not once, but twice, Brandon says last night there was some Hennessy and we were trying. And again, I'm like, we did not need to know that. And he's like, we were blessed, but then things happen. And, she had a miscarriage on August 10, 2024. And this was an absolute no no for me. This is not your story to tell. This was her story to tell. Yes, you were the father, but she carried that child. She lost that child at 14 weeks. She probably had to be the one to, physically go through all of that. I don't know if they discussed it if it was okay, but even if they were going to say it, I would assume she was on the show. She would be the one to say it. Nobody asked for a date for the miscarriage. So that I just thought that was uncalled for and that was very tacky of him to say.
But she probably, again, like you've been saying, she probably looks at it like, oh, he loves me and cares about me. That's why he's sharing this information. Yeah.
Yeah. So they end their segments because he said this. He said, she's my Olivia Pope. Look how she has me in the room just by being in the room. Like, I love that. I love that. And Pastor Kyle is looking around like Dr. Pia is like, what? What is happening? So either way, I'm so glad that it's done. I wish we had more timeline questions, but we did not ask anything about timelines because we were told it was love at first sight. Madison and David came in, and I'm like, I think I joked that this is the reason why they've lasted this long. Just stick it to the experts and be like, ha, we're still together after a year. So Dr. Pepper says, I'm not gonna, go into the past. You guys are together. We're focusing on now. Pascal says, I'm not gonna belabor it. My only question is this timeline. David apologizes to them and he says, I'm gonna politely decline to answer the timely question because we'd like to move forward. Do you know? I'm just gonna confess that I wasn't mad at it.
Me
I'm
too.
sick of it. I'm sick of it.
Yeah.
We're done.
Yeah.
It's This is towards the end of the
I'm
episode.
sorry. I
It's
agree
two
with David
hours.
here. I agree.
Just let it go. It's not going to
Yeah.
change anything at this point. They're still going to be together. Michelle's still going to be angry. It's fine. It's okay. So Dr. Pia asked Madison that when were you ready to risk it all? She says,
But I feel like that's another way of asking that same question.
it is. And I guess she was just playing her part. And she said when she saw him broken down and he felt confident to confide in her. And she said it was attracting. I was like, okay. So Dr. Pepper asked again, well, when did you want each other? Ugh. Anyways, Pascal says, don't let the past dictate how you move forward. You need to protect it. Dr. Pepper says that they are winning people. They should hold on to this feeling. They should enjoy each other. There was like a weird 180 and everyone started giving their blessing. And then Kevin gives the experts credit for David and Madison. And Dr. Pepper is like, I'll take it. Okay. We've moved on. So the final segment is with the whole group. The whole group comes out and Kevin asked them what they're most surprised about. Michelle says she's surprised about the comment section that they don't know us and they keep talking about how they know us. And I'm like, well, maybe I was feeling guilty because I'm part of people just yapping my gums, even though I don't know
You people chose to come here on TV. Don't come and start crying. Woe is me. Oh my God, you guys don't know us. Man, get out of here.
them. So one says that he's surprised by how much hate people have in their heart, that they hate him for saying where he's from. Alan says his mom took it really hard. And I just remember the wedding day. I forgot she was the one that was crying that she's losing a son and all that. But he said he censored details from her. So she doesn't really know the full details of everything. And apparently, Madison's grandma is in the comments defending her. So I'm like, okay. So we have the friend, we have the dad, we have the cousin, and now we have the grandma just defending all of this bad behavior. But, I forgot. Madison is not on speaking terms with her mom, but her mom was like apologizing to Michelle and saying sorry you had to go through this, that Madison is a liar. This is one of the things that she does and all that stuff. So I don't know what's true or not, but this is
Yeah, I
what's
think I
happening
saw that on Reddit.
on the streets.
Yeah.
So David says that he sheltered his mother. I'm like, David, there's no way. His mother seems to be in the know. I don't know how he could have sheltered his mom from everything that's going on. But also earlier when we asked, or when they asked how his family took it, he said, "Oh, they were disappointed in me." So all of a sudden now you sheltered them from what? Is he one of those people who mirrors people because Alan just said that?
I'm sure. I'm sure he lacks zero critical thinking. I'm sure he's actually like spreading the information to his family so that they can defend him.
Hmm. Ikechi says he just wants people to know that they're human, just as they're human. So allow them to be human. Then they ask each of them, "Is there anything that you want people to know about you?" Michelle says she wants us to know that she has a personality and that she's kind. MM says that she's high energy and everything you saw about her is real. Camille suddenly decides that she wants to speak up for David and is like, "Oh, he's a good dude and he has a great heart, that you guys are coming so hard at him for never leaving the nest. There are other things you can get on him about, but not for living at his parents' house." Again, I thought that was unnecessary because if you guys are as close and Michelle is part of the group, why do we have to stick up for him knowing that that was her bone of contention and bringing it up again? Like, you're kind of saying that Michelle was getting on him for living in his house.
You know,
I don't
you
know.
asked me what my favorite part of the reunion was, and I didn't have one. This was my worst part.
Why?
I don't want to hear anything about what people really should think about them. Like, I don't care. You came on TV, we're going to judge you, and then we're going to forget about you after the season is over. So, like, deal with it in the meantime.
That's true. Well, they've run out of stuff, but they never know how to end things because Alan's dog Luffy actually gets his own package. And I'm like, okay. David mentions his tattoo, and I forgot to mention last week that that tattoo looked awful, but they brought it up again.
Like
Kevin,
the cover.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I didn't like it. It wasn't great.
Madison
Kevin,
took credit for how great it looked, though. She came up with the idea.
Kevin asked Madison if there's anything she would change about David's style, which is another good question because I think people have been saying you were criticizing Alan and you're not criticizing David. And she's like, no, the only thing is I would tell him to change his shirt size. He doesn't need to wear an extra, extra large. He has muscles. But other than that, he has good style. Well, that's a lie. Kevin asked Madison if she thought that they would stay there, it and there being the basement where he lives, his parents' basement. And she said, no, no, no. I asked him if he had a plan. He said he had 6 to 9 months, but then I was traveling a lot and I was like, he might as well just move in. So he's there. He works different shifts. So it just kind of works. She was concerned about the size, but it works for them. And the way they made it seem like Alan was uncomfortable because the camera kept, panning to him and he was like shifting in his chair. And then one adds like, "Oh, it's unfortunate how it happened, but we all support them." And I'm like, again, is this unfair to Michelle and Alan? Like, show your support, but we don't need to reiterate it when the people they wronged are here. But Ikechi is very quiet this reunion. Like, he literally doesn't speak unless they ask him a question.
Yeah.
They play some funny moments, which was kind of nice, just showing like the fun times that they had, and they all say that they had a great time. Kevin asked them for their favorite moments. Ikechi says the wedding. Alan says the wedding. And Michelle says when she and Carla went for drinks. MM says wrapping it up and getting engaged. Camille says decision day. And Thomas said when they went for trapeze. I could not remember this.
Yeah, I don't remember them going
And
to
I was just
Japan
wondering
either.
if this is something that happened and didn't make air.
Yeah.
And they're just like, maybe they'll just think they forgot. But I don't remember a trapeze scene, but who knows what that happened. So they wrap it up with Kevin asking them to fill in the blanks. Married at First Sight, Chicago is or was, David said, hard but beautiful. Madison says a wild ride. Thomas says a crazy experience. MM said a shit show. Camille said transformational. Michelle said stressful but worth it. Alan said representative of me. Carla says dramatic. Juan says beautiful mess. And then they made a whole big deal for Ikechi and they were like, Ikechi, take it on home. The artist, the poet, like, what is it? And he's like, it's over.
Actually, I appreciated that, to be fair. I was like, good one, Ikechi.
And that is how the season ended. Well, the reunion ended because for those who don't know, there is an episode next week, which is going to be a Where Are They Now? I don't know what the timing is. I'm sure MAFS fan had it up, but I don't remember what the timing is. If it was after decision day or after reunion, I don't know. But we have one last episode next week. But before we wrap it up, who has your bouquet?
Oh, we're doing bouquets for this one. Who has Kevin? Oh yeah, Kevin has my bouquet. He was such a great host and asked all the questions that needed to be asked, no holds barred. So yeah, Kevin has my bouquet. Who has yours?
Kevin as well. Like he just really
Oh,
turned it up this episode and he just asked all the questions, threw in all the shades. So it was pretty good and it was pretty fun. Who has your ashes?
all the cast members, including Brandon.
He is a cast member at this point.
Yeah, they all get it for like not standing on business and just trying to be all kumbaya. And it's like, oh, you guys were all kumbaya during the reunion, but like, look at what is happening with Juan and Carla now. They're blackmailing each other and doing all this nonsense. So, like, all of them, including Brandon. Who has yours?
It has to go to Brandon. I just don't think that they should have made him like a cast, like made seem like a cast member. I think after Atlanta, when they were just bringing surprise guests, or was it Houston? They decided they weren't going to bring surprise people anymore. So
It was
why are
Atlanta.
we?
They brought
Why
up
are we?
Pastor Dwight.
Yeah, they brought Pastor Dwight, but I know I can't remember if Houston was after Atlanta, and they
Yeah.
brought Ryan from Ryan and Brett's. They brought his sister
Oh,
on in and all
yeah,
that.
yeah,
But at some
yeah.
point, they decided they weren't bringing any extra people anymore, and they should have just stuck to that. Like, I just don't understand why he had to. He could be in the green room, he could be supporting her, but just keep it to what it was and what we've always had, because it's not like it was brand new information, and it was just a lot of like cringy moments, and it was just unnecessary, you know.
Yeah.
All right, well, Wendy, thank you for joining me in wrapping up this reunion. um Guys, remember, if you have any suggestions of what you would like me to cover in the off season, let me know. You can find me on Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter at AltaCallMaps. That's AltaCallMAFS. If you're so inclined, please give me a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And until next week, we'll see you then. Bye, guys.